Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Yours truly, Jimmie Williams, again, back with video number 9. Let me see, got that right? That's it. Number 9 out of my 10-part video series, the top 10 ways to make money with real estate, okay? There's several other ways to make money, but I talk about the top 10 that I think, even in the midst of this COVID pandemic and all the drama that's going on the news and everything you're seeing around you, all the negative energy, this is gonna help you turn things around and help you dive right into it so you can be successful no matter what's going on, all right? Today is I would say my favorite because it's up my alley. It's one of the greatest things I like to talk about. It's something that I apply in my life. And I think it's going to be beneficial to you and your families if you listen and take notes and begin to apply what I talk about today. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the power of buy and hold in the multifamily realm, or buying and holding multifamily properties, i.e. apartment complexes, condo complexes, four-season hotels, which is hotels and motels, the Radisson Hotel and all the great ones that you hear, all the great ones that you hear about, Paramount Hotel, all these great ones that you in the country that's making all this money, all this residual income. The people that own them make a ton of money. And I'm here to tell you, if you want to build true, long-lasting wealth and you want to build it fast, buying and investing in multifamily is the way to go. All right. Even portfolios, that's buying, more than one hotel together in a grouping, or 50 houses in a grouping if they're in different states. And, you got to be careful with the laws that govern those properties. But those properties, that's multiple streams of income. That's multiple tenants paying your company every month after month after month. Well, again, I'm so excited about it. I'm ready to get right into it. If you watch my other module, I think it's module number 4, where I talked about the power of wholesaling multifamily. I talk about some of my personal experiences. I talk about, I lost about $700,000, close to 700, on one wholesale deal when I was trying to wholesale a deal back in Texas. This is about 2 years ago. It was I think one of the properties was in Houston, one was in Dallas, and one was in another area of that state. And all the properties were valued at about $80 million. And I was going to wholesale, and me and some other guys, we blew the deal. But that's wholesaling. I would have made that chunk of change, but there's no residual income with it. And that's the first thing I'm going to tell you. Wholesaling is cash, quick cash, but not cash flow. Buy and hold may not be quick cash. You have to invest more, but it's residual income for a lifetime if you decide not to sell your properties. Let me say that again. Wholesaling is quick cash. You can go broke that way. Just like hitting the lottery, just like going out, getting, making $1 million quick. Being a boxer, you make 100 million. That's not residual income. But when you buy properties and you hold them and people are paying you monthly, those become assets. In fact, one thing about net worth, or growing your net worth, if you look at every movie star, superstar, basketball player, football player, tennis player, all these people that do these different things, their net worth is basically what kind of money they're making yearly. And you basically times that by 10. I'll give you an example. Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey's, her regular income, if you look it up, it's probably somewhere between $200 and $300 million a year. You have to times that by 10 to get her net worth. So if you do 200 million times 10, that's $2 billion. That's what she's worth. Tiger Woods, same thing. He's probably, even in his darker days now, not when I say darker, the latter part of his career, because he's been so great for so long, he probably makes a $500 million, somewhere in there, 500 million. He could be worth anywhere from $4 to $5 billion. If he's making 100 million a year, he's worth $1 billion. This is how you have to look at this, okay? Well, in real estate, when you buy multifamily property, let's say I buy a property for $100 million in New York City. That property's worth $100 million, right? My income, personally, if it has a really good cap, is going to be from $6 million to $10 million a year. So if it's 10 million a year with a really good cap of 10%, which is highly unlikely in New York City, but it can happen, I times that number times 10. But the good thing about real estate is, even if the cap rate was below 10%, the property I bought is still worth 100 million. It holds its value. That means I'm worth 100 million because I own a property that's valued at 100 million. If you buy a property worth $1 billion, you are worth $1 billion. Even if you're making 100 million a year, if you buy a property worth $1 million, you're worth $1 million. It instantly creates your net worth to come up to the level in which the property is worth. That's the power of buying multifamily properties. Same thing with single family properties, but multifamily properties have higher net worths because there's more money to be made. Let's get into this, okay? Take a pen and a piece of paper. I'm all excited about this because it's one of my favorites, one of my all-time favorites, subjects to talk about, okay? I'm kind of stuttering because I'm so excited, but you get my point. So there's a couple things you need to know about multifamily property. When you buy a property that's a multifamily property, i.e. hotel, all these other properties that I named to you, that I said before, apartment complexes, motels, whatever they are, you need to know the cash flow, what comes in yearly, okay? And to basically, here's how we value cash flow. We look at something called the capitalization rate or the cap rate. In the North, we like to see a cap rate of anywhere from 6 to 7%. In the South, southern areas, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Miami, Tampa Bay, places like that, even in Texas, we want to see somewhere between 8 and 9%. New York City, 6 to 7%, somewhere in there, right? But the cap rate is critical. How do we figure out what the cap rate is? The cap rate is the NOI, which is the net operating income, divided by the value of the property. Net operating income, which is you calculate that over a 12-month period. So you basically look at what the property is making over a 12-month period. And whatever it's making, the net operating income means the net profit. So if it makes $100,000 in a year, but they spend $40,000 on, workers, the light bill, taxes and all those things, it's really only making $60,000 a year. And if the property is worth $1 million, you take 60,000, divide that by 1 million, you come up with a 6% cap rate. If that property is in New York, that's okay. But if it's in the South, that's not a good number. It needs to be a little bit higher. Let me say that again. The cap rate is the net operating income, the amount of money that it makes after everybody's paid, cash in the bank, divided by what the property is appraised for, or what it's worth. All right. So when you're looking for good property, depending on the region, that cap rate needs to be where it needs to be, because if it's not, if you get a loan for it, when you start paying back the loan, and then you're paying all these other people, and you're paying for the light bill and the water, and you're paying for to keep it serviced, to keep it serviced. You have the helpers come in and keep the property clean. Sometimes you're barely breaking even. Now, if you can get a property and you have something, you have other income coming in, where you're not really looking for the income from the property to live on, then you're not worrying about high profit. You just want to buy the property, let the value go up, and let the equity build. And a few years later, you can turn around and sell it for a lot more. So if you have a building, you buy it for $10 million. The net operating income is $700,000. The building is worth $10 million. That's a 7% cap rate. That's not bad. $700,000. Okay, so what you got to think about is your overall, what you're going to be putting in your pocket. If you don't put much in your pocket, if you got other money coming, it's not that important. But if it's important to you, then you need to make sure that cap rate's even higher than that. But that's a pretty decent deal. If you find any property, I would say in the Northeast, 7%. Okay, Pennsylvania, those areas. In the South, you want at least, I would say at least 8%, 8.5%, because that extra percentage is going to mean a lot. Let me recap again. That NOI, the net operating income, has to be, 6 to 7% in the North, about 8 to 9% in the South, southern areas. So you can make money, so you can pay your loan back, because whatever the loan's going to be, you got to pay that every month. And if you can't pay it every month, then you're going to have a major problem. You're going to go bankrupt. You're going to have to, you're going to lose that property. But everybody has to get paid, because you got the tenants that's paying you. But there are times, you have a big building, you have 100 tenants in there. There are times, like now with the economy, you may have, if you have 100 tenants and the economy goes bad, you may lose 15 or 20 in a month. So let's say every tenant is paying you, every tenant is paying you $1,000 a month times 100 tenants. Think about that. That's $100,000 a month cash flow coming in. That's 1.2 million coming in, right? If that property is worth 10 million, oh, pardon me, I said that wrong. If that property is worth $1 million, that's a 12% cap rate. That's pretty high. But if, let's say 20% of those people decide to leave, now you're down to 80 people paying $1,000 a month. That's 80 grand. Okay, that's still an 8% cap. That's still really, really good. So things fluctuate. Okay, and you want to make sure that when here's what you want to do before you decide to buy, do all the due diligence you can on the community, the region, what's going on in the area. Okay, generally what they'll do is they'll send you something. The seller will say, hey, listen, I'm going to send you the pro forma so you can see what it's been doing for the last 2 years, and I'm going to send you, a spreadsheet of how the people in the area, what kind of jobs they have, what kind of salaries they make, the community, is it a booming economy in that area? Those are the things you want to look at. If the economy has been decreasing over the last 5 years, job loss and things of that nature, that might not be a good investment. No matter how good the numbers look currently, it could be on the decline. Now, the numbers are going to tell you so much, but sometimes just because you see the numbers in the past doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the future. But it's a good start. But you want to look at the history and see where it's going. Okay? So when they send you all that, and then you look at the pro forma, and the pro forma is basically going to tell you what it's going to do in the next 5 years, those things are critical. But you want to look at all of that before you consider buying. That capitalization rate, that cap rate has to be within the range that I'm telling you. Unless you have, you want to buy a property and it doesn't really have that much value where you're going to be making hardly any money. You have other money coming in. You can wait 5 or 10 years before you sell it. It'll give it time the appreciation to go up. But you got to follow those methods. And when you get one property, I'm going to tell you guys this. I've seen some really, really good deals. If you get one property, you can buy that property for $10 million. You can get the loan for it. And, you can find a good lender that will give you the money for it. The thing about multifamily property is this. You have to come up with at least sometimes 20 to 30% of your own money. So if it's a $100 million deal, you got to come up with at least 20 to 30,000. 30 million, 20 to 30 million. That's your part of the bargain. 10 million, you got to come up with 2 or 3 million. But if you can do that and let the bank take care of the rest of it, at closing, you get some really good interest rates, and you can be in the profit from the, it might take you a couple of years to get all your 2 or 3 million that you put out of pocket. But again, you buy a $10 million building with only 2 or 3 million out of your pocket, your net worth shot up to 10 million. And after 2 or 3 years, you're in the pure profit for the rest of your life. If you decide to hold the property, again, you're starting to build generational wealth. But again, you have to check the community, make sure it's on the rise. If you have to borrow the money for you get the bank to loan you the 7 or 8 million or whatever you're going to have to, whatever they pay. But the other money that you don't have, you may have to go to a private investor or go somewhere. Do what you got to do to get the money and make the deal happen. Right? If you have to go borrow it some other way, do what you got to do, because when you get that property, man, that's generational. That's like a lifetime investment you can make. You buy one multifamily property like that in a good area for the next 100 years, that can feed you, your family, and your family's family. We're talking real wealth here. Let me say that again. Real wealth here. All right? I'm telling you guys, and I don't know why people don't think about this. They think about buying smaller properties because they think it's more attainable, it's more easy. I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret right now. The banks are lending more to people who want multifamily property. I mean, here's why. If you don't believe me, I know you probably don't know how to get access to it, but I'm just being funny here. But ask Paris Hilton. Her grandfather built a dynasty. He was awesome. Hilton Hotels, right? But the reason they're doing that is because, number one, the economy. They'd rather give money to someone who has a big property with multiple tenants in it than to give someone the money with one single tenant, well, possibly one property, and that one property, they're having a tough time finding a tenant to stay there unless you're using methods like I told you before, Airbnb. If you can't have people in the property, that's a problem for the bank, because if you don't have the money to pay the bank, that property's going to go into foreclosure. So the bank's looking at that and they're going, I'd rather give Jimmie $10 million over here because he's got a property that would be making $1 million a year. That's the net operating income, which is a 10% cap. That property has 100 tenants in it. So if 50 let's say 50 tenants left a big building at $1,000 per month, I still have $1,000. I got 50,000 because I got 50 people in the building paying $1,000. That's 50 grand a month I still have coming in if half the people leave the building. Well, if I have one small building over here and I can't keep someone in there because of COVID, They lost their job. That's a bigger risk for the bank. A lot of people don't know how that works, but that's what's going on right now. Now is the best time to tap into this method. Again, a couple things you can do. If you don't have the money yourself, you get pre-qualified with the bank, you get your credit where it needs to be. Find an angel investor, man. Find an angel investor to say, hey, listen, I need $2 million to $3 million. You know, I'll give you part of the profits until all your money's paid with interest. Say that with me. You walk up to the investor, look him square in the eye, he or she, and say, listen, I'm buying this $10 million building. I got the financing for $8 million. I need $2 million. We can joint venture. I'll pay you part of the profits monthly until I pay all your money back with interest. Just like that. You know, they more than likely they have an LLC. You guys, your LLC will, you know, you got to, this is where your attorney comes in. Your attorney needs to be well in tune to find out what kind of deal you guys put together. Make sure that their LLC is a part of the deal. You know, the operating agreement needs to be worked out. Sometimes you may want to use their LLC. You become a part of their operating agreement, vice versa. The numbers have to work. The deal has to work in their favor because they're putting up the money. Get all that stuff worked out so that in the end, when they're fully paid off, they're happy. You can walk scot-free in 5 or 10 years from them, and that profit starts. All that profit's coming to you now, except for what you're paying for the loan till the loan's fully paid. But that's how you do that. This is the way to go, man. You want to build real wealth, this is how you do it. Once you master getting one, some of you, all you need for one lifetime is one. You buy one $10 million building, you're worth $10 million. In 20 years, that building's worth $15 million. You're worth $15 million. And 30 years, it's worth $30 million. Your net worth is $30 million. Do you think your family members can live on a property that's yielding anywhere from, $3 to $4 million per year, $2 million a year? Of course they can. It's generational wealth. When you master to do one, you teach it to your children, teach them the same thing. This is what we're doing with my company right now. We're teaching this and doing it. Just to give you a couple ideas of what we're doing. We're looking for certain communities that we can go in there with other investors and buy the entire community. Sometimes nothing but the land, trees, and develop it. Because we're building legacy. We're trying to leave something for our children and children's children. That's a Bible principle. A good man, the Bible says in Proverbs, leaves an inheritance for his children and his children's children. This applies to you ladies too, women too. When I say man, I'm talking about male and female. Okay, so if you're a single woman, you women are doing awesome things. You're doing things that some of us men cannot do. You can do whatever we do and do it better, right? So you have an obligation to your family if you're a single woman to go and, create wealth and teach it. Leaving an inheritance for them, So we're doing things like that. JW Acquisitions and Development. We're doing in different parts of the country and in the world. That's how you build true wealth. You buy property, cultivate it, create income on it. You buy cities. I mean, we're looking at buying towns and, certain regions and buying just properties, a portfolio with multiple, buildings and multiple houses so we can help change our communities for the benefit of other people and ourselves, because of course we're trying to make money too. But the overall benefit when you have vision is to help the people around you, the next generation, the people you can touch, those communities you can touch for the glory of the Most High in your life. Okay. And that's why I do what I do. That's why all of this is free. It brings glory to his name. And hopefully it's going to help bless your families. Let's get there together. Okay. I hope you understand this. I'm really motivated about this one because I personally do it. I've done a lot of the other things too, but this is what I'm focusing on now. And I think you should too. I'll see you at the top or on video number 10. Bye-bye.